Taiki Inomata rushes to school in order to see Chinatsu Kano, whom he has a crush on. He confides to his friends Kyo Kasahara and Hina Chono about his feelings for Chinatsu, who then comment how she is out of his league. Despite this, they offer Taiki tips on how he can break the ice. Sometime later, Taiki encounters Chinatsu on a cold morning and offers his scarf to her. Charmed, she begins calling Taiki by his full name. Feeling pride, Taiki further pursues this endeavor and meets with Chinatsu to know her better, opening up how he felt inspired to improve his badminton skills after seeing Chinatsu practicing her basketball skills when she missed the nationals. Taiki learns from his mother, who is close friends with Chinatsu's mother, that she and her family will be moving abroad, prompting him to run to the gym and bid good luck to Chinatsu. Chinatsu clears the confusion by stating she will be living with an acquaintance. The next morning, Taiki finds out Chinatsu will be staying in his house, much to his shock. Chinatsu is welcomed into the Inomata household as Taiki attempts to process the sudden change in his status quo. At school, Kyo picks up on Taiki's cheerful attitude and advises him to keep it a secret. Taiki also expresses his desire to join the nationals to be able to reach Chinatsu's level, surprising Kyo. Chinatsu later learns of this and gifts him a good luck bracelet as she shows her own. The next day, Hina encounters Taiki exercising at the gym and suspects it has something to do with Chinatsu, teasing him in the process. Afraid of Hina learning the secret, Taiki distances himself from Chinatsu and later admits to her his worry of people gossiping over them if they are seen together, confusing Chinatsu as she was under the impression that Taiki and Hina liked each other. At the start of the school year, Taiki strives to work hard to achieve his goal. Hina bumps into him after school, and they see Chinatsu walking towards their direction, but then notice her talking to Taiki's badminton upperclassman, Kengo Haryu, shocking him. Despite reassurances that Haryu and Chinatsu are classmates, Taiki is troubled as he continues to see them talk and hears Haryu call Chinatsu Chii. When Chinatsu notices his behavior and worries for him, Taiki calms down and tries to clear his mind to focus on the upcoming matches. This, however, fails after hearing his upperclassman comment on Haryu and Chinatsu hanging out lately. This is further exacerbated when Taiki plays a match against Haryu. Taiki manages to finish the game with a better performance despite losing to Haryu, which Chinatsu commends when she and Taiki practice playing badminton after the game. He also learns that Chii is a nickname given to Chinatsu by her classmates. Taiki is notified the following day he will be playing doubles with Haryu. His heart sinks when Haryu hears him mentioning Chinatsu and teases him as they rigorously practice. Haryu then introduces him to his and Chinatsu's friend group, praising his skills. Taiki later learns that Haryu already has a girlfriend and Chinatsu was assisting him, realizing he was being toyed with by Haryu, much to his annoyance and frustration. Taiki begins to get accustomed to living with Chinatsu after a month has passed. He later receives a text message from Chinatsu informing him that he accidentally grabbed her gym uniform, which he eventually returns. That night, Taiki continues practicing for the upcoming badminton preliminaries at home. Seeing this, Chinatsu asks him to take it easy and rest. When Chinatsu adds he can attempt again the following year, however, Taiki is left despondent, knowing Chinatsu will graduate by that time. On the day of the preliminaries, Taiki and Haryu begin advancing through the matches when they meet Haryu's previous doubles partner, Shoichiro Kishi. Kishi calls Haryu out for not giving him Chinatsu's number, and he challenges Haryu to a singles match to uphold the deal. Haryu accepts and lets him play against Taiki, much to the latter's annoyance. Arriving home, Taiki overhears Chinatsu share her insecurities of discouraging him to his mother, motivating him to win against Kishi. Taiki and Kishi begin their match the next day as Haryu and Kyo watch on. When Chinatsu and her teammates arrive, Kyo shares to her the stakes involved and how much she motivates Taiki. Kyo proposes to Chinatsu on taking Taiki to an aquarium, as Taiki wins the match against Kishi. As his peers congratulate him, Taiki receives Chinatsu's offer, surprising him. Witnessing this, Hina congratulates him on getting closer with Chinatsu and calls their upcoming outing a date. though her friend Nina Shimazaki takes note of her looking sullen after separating from Taiki. Taiki nervously prepares for the outing, but he oversleeps and rushes to the aquarium. Chinatsu apologizes to Taiki for discouraging him the previous day, which he accepts, adding he is open for Chinatsu to talk about her worries. At school, Taiki thanks Kyo on setting up the outing as Kyo brings up the possibility of Chinatsu liking him back, taking Taiki off guard, and Kyo and Hina make him focus back on practicing. Hina later has a chance meeting with Chinatsu and sees a keychain from the aquarium, making Hina believe Taiki has a chance with Chinatsu, while Hina fondly recounts her interactions with Taiki. Chinatsu leaves but forgets her phone, prompting Hina to return it when she discovers Chinatsu entering Taiki's house and talking with him, disconcerting Hina as she begins to develop feelings for Taiki. Hina confronts Taiki and Chinatsu on their relationship, forcing Taiki to explain the circumstances. While she understands the situation, Hina expresses her dismay that Taiki kept it a secret from her. Hina becomes distracted with the revelation during practice while being put under pressure from the expectations of her peers, and is further troubled upon learning Taiki and Chinatsu motivate each other in reaching the nationals, hindering her ability to perform well. Noticing her shortcomings, Hina practices more, but while thinking on where to improve after a session, Hina bumps into a student and sprains her ankle, sending her into a panic before Taiki comes to her aid. He lends an ear to Hina's worries as she also subtly references her jealousy for Chinatsu. After recovering, Hina asks Taiki to wish her luck on her practice. Hina achieves first place in the qualifiers. At home, Chinatsu shares to Taiki on encountering Hina, where Taiki shows his enthusiasm for her, making Chinatsu assume she is getting in the way of their relationship. Taiki begins vigorously practicing for the qualifiers. When Chinatsu mentions her qualifiers, and Taiki's coinciding on the same day, Taiki wonders if she is looking forward to his match. They later cross paths while walking home, and they head to a shrine and pray on reaching the nationals. The next day after their team's qualifiers, Chinatsu and her friend Nagisa Funami overhear their rivals comment on Chinatsu's lackluster performance. Taiki later notices the team's melancholic behavior and eavesdrops on Nagisa's frustration with the situation. Chinatsu spots him and shares on wanting to prove her rivals wrong with her skills. Inspired by Chinatsu's drive, Taiki practices harder with Haru. After wrapping up, Kyo questions Taiki if he plans to ask Chinatsu out when he reaches the nationals, but Taiki wishes to not yet force his feelings on her. They encounter Haru at a convenience store and are later joined by Hina, Chinatsu, and their friends. Hina grabs a bite from Taiki's snack and expresses on wanting to give him gifts. Seeing this, an envious Chinatsu also grabs a bite, leaving Taiki perplexed with her intentions. Chinatsu sees Taiki exercising for his qualifiers and joins him. While discussing their upcoming matches, Chinatsu asks him what kind of cheer Taiki's badminton club uses. At the qualifiers, Taiki and Haru watch the doubles match of Sujikawa high player and competitor Shota Hyodo and take note of his playing style. Taiki and Haru play against Hyodo as Hyodo's teammate Shuji Yusa observes their gameplay, taking special attention on Taiki's playing. Chinatsu later learns that Taiki lost the match, and while thinking of how to cheer him up, she sees his notes and writes words of encouragement. The next day, Taiki plays a singles match against Yusa but also loses. Hina visits the qualifiers and hears about Taiki's performance, leading her to check up on him. Taiki opens up to Hina on doubting his ability to reach the nationals. After the qualifiers conclude, Taiki strives to continue improving. Taiki overhears Chinatsu reaching the nationals upon arriving home, frustrating him further despite being proud of her. Upon learning about the upcoming exams, Taiki begins to study as he observes Chinatsu's team practicing for the nationals. Seeing this, Taiki instead practices his badminton skills, leaving Kyo and Hina worried. The badminton club is tasked to write their goals, which Taiki uses to write on improving his skills. Sometime later, Taiki falls ill after overworking himself and wonders if he failed to achieve his promises. Chinatsu reassures him and tends to his health, despite Taiki warning she might contract his illness. Chinatsu asks why he did not write reaching the nationals on his goal note after seeing it during the club activity, leading Taiki to open up on being overconfident with his expectations. Chinatsu shares she harbors the same doubts as Taiki and replies he should still aim for his goal while setting expectations. Hearing this, Taiki feels calmed by her empathy and states on writing Chinatsu's advice on his goal note before losing his balance, prompting Chinatsu to catch him as she also falls on top of him, and they share a gaze, with Chinatsu leaning closer. Chinatsu leans in to fix the patch on Taiki's head, leaving him restless throughout the night. The next day, Taiki helps Haru and his class clean the school's pool when Haru asks him on his progress with Chinatsu. Taiki consults him for relationship advice, and Haru mentions Chinatsu keeping a distance towards boys she is not interested in, prompting Taiki to wonder on the recent events. Taiki later thanks Chinatsu on tending to his health as he notices a flustered Chinatsu returning the gesture. He impulsively grabs her hand, leaving him embarrassed. Chinatsu then talks to Nagisa on love, as Nagisa humors the idea of an individual falling in love with someone after living with them for a period of time. Later during dinner, Chinatsu learns of the commitment of Taiki's parents in taking care of her as she and Taiki head out to buy food. The two engage in small talk when an oncoming car almost hits them, with Taiki grabbing Chinatsu by her arm out of harm's way. Upon experiencing this action, Chinatsu asks Taiki to forget the recent events and apologizes for her carelessness, causing Taiki to believe she is setting boundaries between them as summer vacation begins. Taiki joins his classmates in accomplishing summer homework as he and Hina overhear from other students about a summer festival happening soon. Taiki recalls to Hina how he cheered her up after she missed the fireworks display of the previous festival. A flustered Hina requests him to accompany her to the festival, and Taiki agrees. Some days later during practice, Haru invites Taiki to a practice session with his seniors taking place on the same day as the festival. Taiki updates Hina on his schedule and asks her who else is joining them at the festival, leaving Hina dismayed as she wanted only Taiki to join. After inviting Kyo along, Taiki opens up to Hina with his concerns on progressing his friendship with Chinatsu, causing Hina to reassure him to take care of himself and compliment his ability to stay positive. Taiki joins Haru in the practice session and encounters Hyodo, who gives advice on his stances. After practice, Kyo messages on being unable to go, forcing him to contend on going alone with Hina. Taiki arrives at the festival and sees Hina in a yukata. When Chinatsu and her friends visit the festival, she notices Taiki and Hina hanging out, surprising her due to initially hearing from Taiki earlier in the day that he planned to go with a group. A nervous Hina becomes conscious of her appearance around Taiki when he compliments her on looking cute, satisfying Hina, and they watch the fireworks. Taiki separates from Hina during the break and sees Chinatsu comforting a lost child, prompting Taiki to assist her in finding the child's mother. They encounter Haru's girlfriend Karen Maria along the way, who secretly roots for them. The two eventually reunite the lost child with her mother and later part ways. Taiki returns to Hina as the fireworks resume. Taiki wonders where his future will lead him. The next day, during a break in practice, Chinatsu sees a sleeping Taiki and nervously asks if he is dating Hina, revealing she was hurt with Taiki lying about his intentions of attending the festival, and leaves before Taiki wakes up. Chinatsu leaves for the nationals and Taiki wishes her good luck. He then learns from Kyo that Chinatsu's group saw him with Hina during the festival, worrying Taiki. He travels to the badminton nationals to support Haru and meets Karen, who shares she is aware of Taiki's crush on Chinatsu. Taiki also learns of Karen and Haru's support for each other, and Karen explains how they made their relationship work, despite both focusing on their aspirations. The two then cheer for Haru as he faces off Hyodo once more, but he begins losing to him, and Haru notices Karen looking concerned. As Haru recounts how he fell in love with Karen, he fights back to show her he will not give up and scores a tie, though he loses to Hyodo much to his frustration. After Karen encourages Taiki to not overthink his relationship with Chinatsu, she catches up to Haru and he promises to win again for her. Chinatsu's basketball team begins preparing for the nationals, and she becomes pressured upon hearing from Nagisa their seniors would be leaving the team after the game. Back at school, Taiki wonders how Chinatsu would be performing at the game before Hina sees him and they hang out. Hina reveals she scored a podium position at the nationals, surprising him. Hina then takes him to a playground where she notices Taiki's worry for Chinatsu. She calms him down by playing a game where the loser must share a secret, and Taiki easily wins. Hina confesses to Taiki on her feelings for him, though she acknowledges his crush on Chinatsu and reassures him not to give an immediate response before leaving ahead. A speechless Taiki looks back and realizes Hina was hinting her feelings in their past interactions. Arriving home, he learns from his mother that Chinatsu's team lost the game. The next day, Taiki and Hina engage in banter with Hina teasing him and boasting about her confession, which Chinatsu overhears. With the nationals concluding, Chinatsu also celebrates her birthday. Taiki notes she has been feeling down from losing their game as he thinks of his present to her. Later, Chinatsu talks to her mom on her worries of being promoted as the team's vice captain and her need to improve after losing when she encounters Taiki, who takes her to the beach to clear her mind and presents her a birthday cake. They are unable to go home as heavy rain suddenly pours, and the trains are out of service, forcing the two to stay at a nearby inn. Taiki and Chinatsu decide to pass the time by playing board games when they are interrupted by Nagisa calling Chinatsu, prompting Taiki to stay quiet as he eavesdrops on Nagisa supporting her amid her worries and their visit to the festival. Hearing this, Taiki explains the circumstances of his outing with Hina and apologizes, which Chinatsu takes to also apologize on setting boundaries with him. In the following morning, Chinatsu wakes up refreshed to start anew after her birthday. Taiki works as the class representative for his class on the upcoming school festival, accomplishing their errands while his class prepares for a play on Snow White. He also learns that Chinatsu will be staying with her mother for a month as her mother returned from abroad to take care of her father, causing Taiki to see her infrequently the next day at school. He learns, however, that Chinatsu was also attempting to find him, leading the two to try and get accustomed to the current norm. Chinatsu contemplates on her friendship with Taiki with Hina in the picture after hearing her mother voice her opinion on complicated relationships, as Kyo voices his concern to Hina on her pursuing Taiki despite his crush on Chinatsu. While fulfilling a class errand, Hina and Chinatsu encounter each other, which Hina uses to proclaim to Chinatsu she had confessed her feelings to Taiki. Chinatsu expresses surprise towards Hina's proclamation as the latter runs off. Taiki's badminton skills gradually improve, though he feels anxious on facing Yusa at an upcoming practice match against Sajikawa High. Hina and Chinatsu separately learn of the match and tell Taiki they will watch and cheer him on, giving Taiki the drive to further improve. Later, while preparing for the school festival, Taiki meets with Hina and helps her rehearse the True Love's Kiss scene for the Snow White play. Taiki expresses admiration towards Hina's dedication, which Hina reciprocates. Hina then shares to Taiki on imagining the latter kissing her and asks him if he wants to act it out, leaving the two flustered. Taiki declines and he kneels in embarrassment towards his conflicting feelings for Hina. Haru and Chinatsu later discuss about Taiki and his aimless motivation, where Chinatsu encourages Haru to help Taiki. The next day, Taiki leaves the school gym to accomplish an errand when he encounters Yusa, who is finding the gym. The practice match between Eimei High and Sajikawa High begins in earnest, and Taiki and his teammates observe Yusa defeat his opponents. Yusa learns he would be playing against Taiki, and they begin the match. Hina and Chinatsu nervously watch Taiki's match, and Taiki gradually loses to Yusa. Taiki ponders on his inability to improve and indecisiveness towards his own feelings, motivating him to perform on par with Yusa. Chinatsu realizes Taiki's determination despite him facing hardship was rooted from her own determination. Taiki wins against Yusa. Much to everyone's surprise, Taiki and Yusa later shake hands as Yusa acknowledges him as an opponent and equal. Taiki is left relieved and believes he can now be able to move forward, and Chinatsu congratulates him. Chinatsu shares that Hina also watched and asks about their play and the kiss scene, and Taiki tries brushing it off. Later at night, Taiki dreams of his conflicting feelings for both Chinatsu and Hina, and he wakes up much to his bewilderment. As the day of the school festival slowly approaches, Taiki conducts final preparations for the Snow White play, and he sees Hina in her Snow White costume, leaving him in awe. A flustered Hina turns away from Taiki and continues practicing. The next day, Chinatsu invites Taiki to watch a music performance during the school festival, and Taiki accepts. Taiki visits Chinatsu's class, where he learns that her class is doing a maid cafe theme for the festival. Taiki sees Chinatsu in maid uniform serving patrons, flustering him. Taiki and Chinatsu later meet to watch the music performance, and Taiki enjoys his outing with Chinatsu. Taiki asks Chinatsu her reason for inviting him, and Chinatsu whispers her response. However, Taiki did not catch her response, and Chinatsu refuses to elaborate. Taiki participates in a fortune-telling session with badminton teammate Ryosuke Nishida and learns of an ordeal that will befall him, leaving him nervous as Nishida's previous predictions have come true. Taiki encounters his class worrying on finding a replacement actor for the prince in the play, leading the class to set their eyes on Taiki. Despite his protests and stage fright, Taiki reluctantly agrees to substitute for the role of the prince after realizing the effort made by Hina and the class. Chinatsu heads to the theater to watch as she is informed by Taiki of the role change. Before the start of the play, a nervous Taiki and Hina encourage the other to do their best. Kyo arrives to oversee the play and eavesdrops on two students discussing Taiki and Hina's relationship, leading him to wonder the difference between platonic love and romantic love. Taiki grows anxious on acting out the kiss scene with Hina, leading him to fake the kiss. Although he is relieved, a prop suddenly falls on Hina and Taiki jumps in to shield her. Taiki falls on top of Hina and their heads make contact, causing everyone to misinterpret the incident as the two kissing, and they gossip about their relationship. Taiki expresses annoyance towards the rumors and demands people to not discuss about it. Kyo later asks Taiki if he reciprocates Hina's feelings, and he urges him to think about it. The next day, after the end of the festival, Taiki learns that Chinatsu is moving back into his house, and he wonders what Chinatsu thought about the incident. Chinatsu brushes off the rumors, though Taiki remains worried for her thoughts. At a sleepover in Karen's apartment, Chinatsu opens up to Karen that she is interested in Taiki after knowing him more, though she elaborates it is not yet romantic. She also expresses being unable to focus on her feelings due to being distracted with basketball and the recent rumors between Taiki and Hina. Karen points out Chinatsu's cautious approach to falling in love, and she asks Chinatsu to be ready on facing her feelings for Taiki when the time comes. At the school gym the following morning, Karen's sister Ayame introduces herself as the badminton club's new team manager, and Taiki guides her on her duties. Chinatsu encounters the two and notices their quick bond, causing her to wonder back on Karen's words about falling in love. Ayame presses Karen on information about the person Chinatsu is interested in. Worried that Ayame may find out it is Taiki, Karen describes a person different from Taiki to satisfy Ayame's curiosity. Ayame also catches on to Hina's crush on Taiki during practice, but she learns he has not given his answer to Hina's confession. The sports clubs also prepare for an upcoming training camp, allowing Ayame to help Hina on her feelings for Taiki. Meanwhile, Chinatsu hears from her teammates of a ritual conducted at the camp where two people who ask each other out during a campfire may live a loving life. The clubs travel to the camp and immediately conduct practices. At night, Nishida invites Taiki, Kyo, and Ayame to a card game where they must follow a command to whoever will take the turn, with Hina, Chinatsu, and Nagisa, and Haru also joining. Ayame rigs the game to reach Taiki's turn, and Taiki is shocked upon learning his command is to confess his feelings to the person he likes. Taiki follows the command, and the group eagerly awaits his response. Kyo answers the command on Taiki's behalf with a different person, and he notices Taiki being unsure on his feelings. Taiki decides to go on an evening jog, allowing him to thoroughly think on his feelings for both Chinatsu and Hina. He then crosses paths with Chinatsu, who is assisting an elderly woman, and Taiki decides to help her to the woman's home. The elderly woman thanks Taiki and Chinatsu, and she remarks that Taiki acted like a boyfriend to Chinatsu. She further points out how Taiki looked worried and went out to find her, taking Chinatsu by surprise. The next day, Taiki continues practicing, and Hina catches a glance of him before leaving. Niana, wondering why Hina and Taiki are not yet going out, suggests to Hina that she can ask Taiki for his answer at the campfire ritual. Hina refuses, stating she does not need an answer until Taiki also falls for her. Hina grows increasingly anxious on her feelings for Taiki despite being aware of his crush on Chinatsu as the sports club set up the campfire. Hina also reflects on the events since she confessed to Taiki, and she imagines a reality where she and Taiki are dating, flustering Hina. Hina internally remarks that she is willing to wait on his answer for the foreseeable future. The campfire begins in the evening, and Ayame overhears Taiki heading to the gym. Ayame plots on getting him and Hina together by leading Hina to the gym under the excuse of acquiring equipment. Hina and Taiki meet, and they later bond. Hina finally asks Taiki on who he was going to confess his feelings during the card game, while reaffirming her love for him despite the circumstances. However, Taiki reiterates his crush towards Chinatsu and turns down Hina's reciprocations, explaining that his indecisiveness towards his own feelings may hurt them both. Faced with the reality of the situation, Hina runs away and breaks down in tears. Ayame witnesses Hina crying and comforts her, leading Ayame to become remorseful over her attempt in getting her and Taiki together. Kyo realizes the situation through a sullen Ayame, and he remarks that Taiki made his decision, adding that Taiki and Hina worked better as friends. Meanwhile, Taiki finishes a match with Haru, and Haru shares that despite being faced with losses, he must nevertheless move forward and grow stronger. The clubs return to school, and Taiki heads home with Chinatsu. Taiki asks her on going out to a mall, which Chinatsu agrees. Ayame tries to cheer up Hina, but is only partially successful when they encounter one of Ayame's ex-boyfriends, who negatively comments on Ayame's demeanor. Hina stands up for Ayame, stating his negative comments are a way to protect himself from further pain before tearing up. Hina distances herself from Taiki and grows depressed upon having to see him and Chinatsu frequently. Ayame becomes angry at Taiki for his decision and perceived lack of care, questioning him about what he even sees in Chinatsu. Despite her anger, Taiki explains he still cares for Hina even he doesn't love her, but he addresses their friendship will not be the same and waits for Hina's response, possibly hinting at her cutting ties with him. Taiki later leaves to meet with Chinatsu on their outing, feeling more confident in deepening his relationship with her.